You're listening to The Next 15, a podcast show for the binge listener covering random topics such as relationships, current news, and everyday life issues. My name is Trey North, and for the next few minutes, I hope to make you laugh, educate, and inspire you.
Welcome everybody to the Next 15. This is your host on today, Mr. Christopher McAllister. How's everybody doing out there? I know you are wondering, what is this guy doing hosting the Next 15 and where is the original host? Well, never fear, guys. That man is with me, but he is behind me on today. The co-host for today is Mr. Trevor North. We call him Trey, man. How you doing?
What up, what up, what up? Feels good to be back in the saddle, as you can say.
As y'all can hear, we have changed seats, if you will. Today, I am your host, man, and I'm so excited to be your host on today. Listen, we have been talking through a lot of things the last couple of weeks, man. Like the last show, Enough, man.
Yes.
Part 1 and part 2. You guys kind of showed up, and you know, it sounds like you guys like to hear what's going on in the world today. You know what I mean? And so, if you ever hadn't had the opportunity to listen to those shows, you want to go to the next15podcast.com. You can go to Spreaker.com and catch those 2 shows. If not, you definitely can follow the Next 15 podcast on Facebook and also Instagram. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Nah, you're not missing it, man. No. Follow us at Next 15 Podcast, like you said, on both Facebook and Instagram platforms. Yeah, man, Enough part 1 and part 2. Want to thank everybody for the response, and it's still, the numbers or downloads is going crazy on that with the death of George Floyd and all this other stuff that's going on right now. So yeah, man, thank everybody, man. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in tonight. Erica Vargas and Andrea Clark, so far I see, and those that are maybe not in our chat room but are listening live on the website, we thank you so very much for tuning in tonight.
Absolutely. Listen, this show is going to be kind of in the same vein, man. Like, listen, it is a real big topic. It's very, very heavy, and we are using the topic on today. Does it matter? I know everybody's been wondering, man. We kind of promoted this, man, 2 weeks ago, and so everybody's kind of been chomping at the bit on what we were going to be talking about, and it just so happened to kind of fall in line of some of the stuff that we've been talking, but we just wanted to kind of take a twist to it. You know, in today's society, all relationships, from friendships, partnerships, and even marriage, can produce engaging in conflict of conversation, but in regards to race, the past few years kind of have been nearly unpredictable, you know, when it comes to the catalyst of conversation, especially when it comes to, you know, the roles that race play in personal and romantic relationships. For every positive empowerment moment, man, or there's a moment of progress, but there's also a feeling of a tragic moment of loss or discrimination, dude. And so we kind of want to jump into that, asking the question, does it matter? And I want to start off by asking, does it matter if you date interracially or even married? You know, for anybody that's listening, like, with everything that's going on, has it changed your perspective on interracial dating?
You mean like with everything that's going on right now, current?
Yeah.
With the shift of what I believe is a historical moment in time that we're all now.
Yes.
You know, we heard about the Dr. Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X. Now we're living in our own. Right. You know, we have the George Floyds, the Trayvon, and oh my God, Breonna Taylor's. Yeah, absolutely. Does it matter? I don't know. For some it may, and for some it may not. I would say that it doesn't matter for those that are currently in a relationship. You know, what's interesting, I wonder how that's affecting the relationship.
Absolutely.
That's what I want to know.
And that's what I want to jump into, man. Even just, and we talk relationships, but relationship is just not marriage and dating. I'm talking partnerships, friendships too.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, because it has, you see it on Facebook, man. You see it on Instagram where friends are defriending each other because they're starting to see, hey, Black lives do matter, but all lives matter, and so
it's like a setup question.
Yeah.
To see who's really. To me, it is. It's almost like you engage in to really see who's really real and who's not.
Right. Who's for what you're for and who's against what you're against. So that's what's been going on out here, man. And I feel like that's a topic of discussion, or that should be a topic of discussion, man, because the country is divided now for real, because they have, marked the line in the sand, bro.
But I found something interesting, though. I've noticed that the younger generation, the Caucasian generation, their attitude's a little bit different than the older generation. They have come together and have really come together and are kind of sick and tired, kind of like, we black people are. You know what I mean?
You're right.
I had an opportunity at work, at my post. There was a protest this week.
Wow.
And it was a black Latino protest where they were just marching. It was nothing violent. It was very peaceful. Thank God for that.
Yeah, thank God.
But I noticed it was a lot of Caucasian people out there. Right. And it made me feel good, and it looked like the younger generation. It wasn't my older people that are our age, in their 40s or late 30s or whatnot. But I think that a lot of the younger generation are just tired, and you know what I mean? So, yeah.
One more quick question, man, before we dive even deeper. Like, do you feel that it's, like you said, it's the younger generation? Do you feel that it has now hit the brink to where it's not being as taught in the household as heavy in the white community when it comes to racism? You know what I mean?
You mean being taught as far as the hatred part of it, or
just the hatred part of it, because you got more of the younger individuals now doing like a protest. When you see the protests on TV, yes, you see a lot of African Americans and a lot of Hispanics or Latino descent and all of that, but you see a lot of Caucasians, man, and they're in that 20 to 29, 30 age, man, and what's your thought process on that?
I don't. It's hard to say not being in a household, but I would think just based on those numbers and based on what we're seeing today, that regardless of if it's being the racism part or the hatred part is being taught in the home, I think the younger generation is not buying it, or some of them are. I think it's half and half. I think it just learned behavior is something else. You know what I mean? But then you have the young generation who's on another level now.
Right.
And you got those that are following the footsteps of their parents or what's being taught in the home. Then you got some of them that have been taught that but don't necessarily agree with that, and are not following that. That's why you see them out there, in the protest and supporting Black Lives Matter, not just saying all lives matter. We know that, like Jessica Montefiore said, I believe it was last week, she was saying, all lives don't matter until Black lives are included.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Or Black lives don't matter until we're included. So I just think a lot of people are or a lot of the younger generation may feel the same way as black folk do.
Yeah, man. And so let me throw a stat out there to you real quick, man. Like, so out of 54 million married couples in the U.S., nearly 4 million are interracial couples, and that's a stat for 2018. So, you have a lot of interracial couples out there. 4 million is not
that many.
Yeah, that's not a lot out of 54 million. Wow. So there, you see what I'm saying? Like, when you really look at that number, there's 54 million couples or married couples is the stat. And out of those married couples, only 4 out of the 54 million are interracial couples.
4 million out of 54. That's a low percentage.
Yeah.
To me, that's a low percentage. It is a low percentage.
Yeah, it's
Why do you think that?
That's I feel like comfortability.
God, I thought that would have been more than that.
to me, I think it's that simple. When it's comfortable to be with somebody that kind of can understand your plight, as an African American, as a Hispanic, or even as a white individual, you want somebody that can understand that, hey, we're kind of raised a little bit the same, maybe, or.
So you see, I would think the numbers. Okay, that's marriage numbers, though.
Yeah, that's.
I would think the numbers for dating would be higher than that, or I would have thought it would have been higher than that. But I can understand, I guess, maybe your theory on that, as far as the marriage go, that maybe, when it comes to marriage and settling down and family, some of the same values are relatable within your same race.
Yeah. Well, okay. So we're talking about the marriages of interracial couples. Do you know that the black-white marriages remain the most unlikely racial combination in the U.S.?
Really?
Yeah. For example, the number of Hispanic marriages to non-whites is 1.75 million. That's 4 times larger than the number of black and white marriages in 2018.
Wow.
So I mean,
so less black and white relations versus Hispanic and
white. Yeah.
So more Hispanic and white will marry versus blacks and whites.
Yeah, 1.75 million.
Wow.
That's 4 times larger. But the perception is, when you say interracial dating, you think black and white.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You think black and white.
Yeah. First thing you think of.
That's the first thing you think of. And it is crazy to me when I started researching and diving into this, that it's still the most unlikely are we still like it is still hard to do a black and white relationship?
That's weird, because I wouldn't think more Hispanics would be dating white, or the Caucasian influence, the white influence.
I would think the same. But this is we're going to this CPS database for 2018, sir. That was 2 years ago. Like, you think, and TV shows one thing, social media shows one thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Statistics don't lie.
Numbers don't lie, no.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it hit me when I was like, wait a minute, what? Like, okay, so
so why do you think that? Let me ask you a question. Why do you think that more Hispanics have married, since we're talking statistics, which they don't lie, so we got those numbers. Why is that? Do you think it's economic reasons, or?
I think it plays into a little bit of everything, man. When you're talking Hispanics, and man, I don't want this to sound crazy. Don't judge me for anybody who's listening, but I think a lot. There's so many different scenarios you can play into that. Some like you said, the economical part of it. Some could be a little bit of legalization. Get legal in the US. I'm just playing.
I mean, it could be the same for blacks, right?
Well,
are you saying?
No, I'm just saying, like, how, okay, for instance, like, there are some Hispanics who would come to America. They're from Mexico. They come to America. They start a life. They have children, and I feel like I heard this said one time where it was pushed upon the kids to marry, white, just to get accepted into the society.
Well, that makes sense.
Like, really,
makes sense.
And then that's why you see, but it was actually more the males being pushed
to marry.
Yeah.
Really, than the females.
Than the females.
Wow, that's even interesting.
Yeah, so
the male would be seeking a Caucasian woman.
Yeah, and this is this is back again. This is early 2000 when this conversation happened, and I remember that me and my wife kind of talked about this too, because my wife comes kind of from a rural area, and one of her best friends is a Hispanic lady, man, and she kind of gave. Again, in conversation years ago, I remember her saying that in the Hispanic household, it depends, kind of like in the African American community. It just depends on the area that you're brought up, because a lot of areas in the Hispanic community, they're like, white is right. That kind of ordeal. And if you can infiltrate and get you one of them, I mean, it's almost like a better your grandkids will live a better life.
I can well, yeah, I guess I can see that from that point of view. If that was the reason,
yeah.
For I guess economics, we're gonna go back to that.
Yeah, does it make it right though? Is the question.
Well, I mean, you choose who you want to be with. Yeah. I mean, now if you're with them for the wrong reasons, then that's another story.
Yeah,
but I think that's the only motive. I don't think it's right, because you want to marry for love and for the person. I mean, but then again, we've talked about this in other episodes. Hey, there's some things on the table I'm gonna need. And I get. I mean, hey, some people make their choices that are best for them in their situation. So I could see, I mean, let me. I'll ask you a question.
Go ahead.
So am I.
Come on, bro.
So let's just say you were not married.
Okay.
And you had a black woman.
Okay.
She was like I won't say maybe in the lower class.
Okay.
In an economic situation versus a
higher standard.
I
got you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And then you have a white woman, middle class, and let's throw a Hispanic. No. Hispanic middle class, and then a white woman, pretty much
first class, grade A beef.
Yeah, that had the bank account. All right. So let me ask you this, and let me just ask you this: all three were good. All three were good people. Okay. So all three had good character, good morals, brought up well.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So how would that?
For me, just personally,
which one out of those three?
Out of those three, I'm gonna be very honest with you, man. Just from my upbringing, bro, and I don't want to sound racist, okay? Or like a male chauvinist pig, because I'm gonna, out of all of that, one's gonna be like, if they all kind of the same and they're all great people, does money matter? No, seriously, but does money matter? Yes, it does.
Well, of course.
But I mean, I'm gonna go, like, I'm so visual. I'm a guy, and so you have to look a certain way.
Okay. There you go.
You gotta look a certain way.
Follow.
And if you don't match that, I don't care how much money you got.
Okay.
Like, that's not money, because even money ain't gonna keep me. So I need something appealing to the eye, and personally, to me, there's nothing more beautiful than an African American woman. Runner-up would be Latino descent.
A Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican.
That.
I'll take Indonesian after that.
There's some nice Caucasian looking women.
There are.
I mean,
beautiful.
These women here in Austin aren't bad. I mean,
touche. I'll give you that.
I mean, I see all different races of women, and they have nice shapes.
Yeah.
So I guess the way I was reading that was, you're saying looking a certain way, like the black,
like
the African American woman's body type and how she looks.
Absolutely. That's just me, and that's just me, and that's not saying that there are other races of women aren't gorgeous and beautiful and sexy. You're absolutely correct, they are. But for me, I'm gonna pick a black woman over any other. I'm gonna pick a black woman over any other race of woman if I have the choice. Now,
is it because she's black and that's how you were raised, or is that based on just totally your preference?
That's my preference. Because here's the thing, I'll put it out there. Growing up, I've had relationships outside of my race, and as good as they were, there's just an interconnection with somebody of your race or somewhere similar. Like, I felt like when I dated a Hispanic, it was almost kind of the same. Like we did kind of had some of the same hardships, you know, that, and kind of couldn't understand some of the things, and you know, and even to the point where I told my one friend growing up, I was like, you guys have it better because you can go into a language that nobody knows, and you guys can have a conversation inside of a conversation immediately. And we don't have that. But yeah, that's just personally me. Now, again, it just depends on how much money you're talking about.
But for you, mostly, you're saying that it's based on maybe the cultural, the same cultural, it's the sharing of the same cultures.
Yeah,
basically the upbringing,
right.
the church, the way, I guess the morality that was taught in the home.
Yeah,
maybe?
in the home, man. My mom, you know, the black people have a phrase saying if she can't use your comb, don't bring her home, type of.
Wow, that sounds so racist, though.
It does, doesn't it, when you say it out loud, especially in today's, you know, atmosphere.
But that's your preference, I get it.
Right, but now I use that phrase to the point where, you know, that was the atmosphere, you know, and my mom and my dad didn't care. They told me, they was like, whoever you fall in love with is who you fall in love with.
Yeah.
And that's what gave me the opportunity to bring different race of ladies home. And my mom and my dad treated them as such. I'm not gonna lie, I truly think that the one girl, well, you know, before my wife, there was one lady that I was with that my mom adored. And she was mixed between Hispanic and white. Okay. And she identified more to the white side because of how she looked. And my mom loved her. She was a sweet girl, you know, but I messed that up. But, you know, as usual. But hey, you know what? Listen, we're going to go and pay a couple of bills, and we're going to finish some of this conversation on Does It Matter? Hey family, this is Christopher McAllister, Senior Pastor of Life Changers Church here in the great city of Austin, Texas, and I am so excited to invite you to come experience change. Yeah, that's right, a change in the way you think, a change in what motivates you, or even a change in how you perceive church. So come visit us on Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. for an hour of power, either at our physical location at 15020 North I-35 Frontage Road, Austin, Texas, 78728, or on our website at lifechangersaustin.com. Or you can even catch us on our live stream on Facebook at LCC Austin. Yeah, that's right, LCC Austin. Isn't it about time you are a part of something different? Life Changers Church, where we're changing lives starting with ourselves. We'll see you real soon. Welcome back to the Next 15 here with your host, Chris McAllister, and my wonderful co-host, Mr. Trey North. If you're just tuning in, we have been talking about Does It Matter? And we've been talking about Does It Matter with interracial dating in today's society and in today's, heat of battle when it comes to conversation about Black Lives Matter or vis-a-vis All Lives Matter. Oh man. And so if you're just tuning in, please, feel free to, ask questions there in the comments there. If you're listening to us, by Spreaker.com, we definitely want to hear your opinions, and thought processes on some of the stuff that we're talking about. Hey Trey, man, listen, as we were talking, and we hit the break, man, I kind of wanted to come back in. We were talking about dating, interracial dating, and marriages. But I want to throw another fact out there for you real quick, man. And this is kind of a heavy one. So divorce rate for interracial couples is actually higher at 41% versus same race at 31%.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh. Why you think that?
So yeah, I was gonna say, I think just because of the flack that that a lot of people get in their marriage being of different races. You know what I mean? Like everybody still isn't accepted. You know, the acceptance of it, if you will.
I think I think that could be one.
Yeah.
Not just in its totality, the reason for divorce, but I would definitely think, especially when you're dealing with parents or people that are old fashioned, that don't approve of that or necessarily approve of interracial marriages or even dating. I think that would be some kind of flack. I mean, you know, it's kind of hard to choose someone over your family at times, especially when it's like somebody that's married. You know, I can see maybe a boyfriend or girlfriend because you haven't got to that covenant yet. But I mean, especially when it comes into a marriage situation, you have to choose your spouse.
So that was going to be the question I was going to ask. So let's say you got married, and you know we're both Christians, right? Okay. So the Bible says, you know, leave and cleave. You know what I mean?
Leave and cleave.
And so with that being said, like with a racial incident, like prime example of what's going on now, like do you choose, for instance, your black husband or your black wife if your family's kind of against everything that's going on? They're pro, you know, white supremacy.
I think the question is really simple, or the answer is simple.
Yeah.
I think you would go with your spouse because to me, if you married them, then you know, you're not into that prejudice or that racism. You know, you've already made a choice, and I'm pretty sure you've already went against the will of your parents and some of your family members already. So why would you change up now at this point?
Yeah.
You know, change up your status. You know, I think that, hey, I'm already in there. And I'm going to side with my spouse. So in this case, I'd be 100% down with blacks.
Yeah.
If I was a Caucasian male dating or married to a black woman, hey, I'm married to one.
Right.
You know what I mean? And especially if you have kids on top of that, you know what I mean? So, because that's another discussion right there. So you probably already exiled me. We probably got some problems going on, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. But, at this point, huh?
Yeah. And I would think, I understand the pressure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The pressure of, you know, you love your family, you know, your mom and your dad. But at the same time, you know, I got to live my life too. You know what I mean? And if I don't, you know, your values and your views in life, they might have been encroached on me in the beginning of my early childhood up until the point where I can make my own decisions. Yeah. And at this point, I've already made my decision, and I'm not necessarily in agreement or not in agreement with you if you're a racist or you're supremacist. Obviously, I'm not in agreement with you.
Right.
So, you might have to just cut me off. Yeah. You know what I mean? Especially if I got a good woman.
Yeah.
I mean, you know
absolutely.
What I'm saying?
And you know, I wonder how many people are dealing with that right now. I mean, I have friends right now who are married interracially, who are dating, and they're kind of going through that right now with now seeing how and there are people who are finding out that their family are kind of quote unquote racist, and they never kind of knew it.
Ooh, like it's hitting.
Yeah, like it was like, hey, wait a minute, you never told me this is how you felt about the opposite race, you know, and now that all of this is coming up, and now I see your Instagram posts, and now I see your Facebook posts, and you know, and that kind of that turmoil that comes with that. Now you're finding out more about your family that you thought you knew.
That's gritty,
you know, and so that's
gritty. We should open up our phone lines.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, listen. If you would like to call in and maybe add your point or discuss or ask a question, the number is 512-827-9164. You can give us a call. Again, that number is 512-827-9164. It's going to be in the chat room. But yeah, that's a good place, I think, right here where we can get our listeners involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, it looks like Amber Michelle. Hey, Amber, thank you for listening. She says different races communicate differently, which plays a part in the divorce rate. Communication.
Yeah,
I would say so. I would agree with that.
I totally agree with that. Like, you know, because again, I know for me, I mean, as an African American male, there are certain things that you know we're taught, and we are the way we express ourselves, especially in my household. We're so animated. You know what I mean? So anybody that knows
passionate,
yeah. So when we're talking, even if we're having just a good time, it's not an argument or anything. We're expressive. You know, we're loud. bow.
Yeah,
We're doing
absolutely.
all of that.
Hand movement,
gestures
and
and all that. It's every conversation. It sounds like we're telling a story. You know what I mean? And then it has been perceived that, that's hostile because I have used that same type of interpretation in my speech or talking at work.
In the workplace,
in the workplace, and they were like, well, hey, you might be a little, hostile. I'm like, no, I'm just
belligerent.
Yeah, like, no, I'm just, stating the facts just because,
Passionate.
yeah, I'm passionate about my work and that's what I do. And so people are like, well, people are afraid of you. I'm like, so I start banging on the desk, like, what do they mean? No,
You're afraid because you're scared.
Yeah.
You're feeling guilty about how you really feel about black people.
Like you're afraid because you did exactly what I said you were doing and you got caught. Yeah, but we would love to hear you guys and your thought processes out there about, interracial dating and marriages. Feel free to call in at 512-827-9164 here at the Next 15. We definitely want to hear your thought process in regards to that. And while we're holding on and while we're listening or waiting for them to call in, I looked up something that I wanted I also wanted to kind of know. And the question is how many go back to dating in their own race after being in an interracial relationship?
Yeah, I bet they go back if it's failed. I don't know.
So the percentage now, again, this is dating. This is not marriage.
Facts?
This is not marriage. This is just dating.
Dating. Okay, I got you.
Dating, 39% go back to their original race after dating interracially if it doesn't work out.
39%.
39%.
They go back.
2018.
I could see that.
Yeah, that's
because like
number.
what Amber said about the communication process, and then going back to what's familiar.
Yeah,
because then you also got some people that are curious. Some people have, say, okay, you know what? I from my point of view, I've dated a Caucasian female before.
Okay.
I've dated a Latino before. And then I turned around and after that, I got married to a black chick. Yeah. You know what I mean? But,
right.
But I think for me, in my own personal experience, there was a communication, as Amber said earlier, a difference of communication and a difference of how we were raised. For me, it was more of a comfortability point of view. I enjoyed. I think I had both good relationships with the Caucasian female and with the Latin female. There was definitely some cultural differences.
Absolutely,
how we were raised. One being as far as being religion or Christianity.
Right.
It was different. I had one that was a Catholic. I had two that was Catholic. They were both Catholics. I believe one was Baptist. And then the Latino lady was Catholic,
right? And
the Caucasian girl was Baptist, or I think maybe a Southern Baptist that later went to Catholic. Yeah. So definitely in those. Yeah. So definitely when it comes to that, there's an imbalance right there. Yeah. Automatic. To me, that's not comfortable. You know what I mean? I'm more comfortable in my. In how we worship,
right,
and how we praise and how we pray and all that. So, yeah, man, I think after it didn't work out, you'd be like, you know what, I'm going back to the sisters,
right,
because I was raised around the sisters.
Well, so are you telling me that for instance, if you let's just say hypothetically you were dating a white woman and she was great, everything was great, but the only thing that she wasn't going to budge on is her Catholic faith. And she was going to go to Sunday mass or Saturday mass,
and that was and we're dating.
Yeah, you're dating, but you're seriously thinking about marrying her because everything else is on point.
Well, I think for the most part, I'm sure at some point she would have an open mind to. Oh God, I would both have an open mind to go in each other's place of worship.
Right.
But I can't see myself being married and not being taught the same word in the same house,
right?
Because so much goes into that. Is where we're tithing, where we sow our seeds, where we worship, where we praise at, and there's some things in and I don't want to make this about religion, but there's some things in the Catholic faith that I don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure vice versa, maybe. But that would be a hard one because me at this point, now back in the day, probably wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
because I was in early 20s. I wasn't really thinking about getting married. I was doing some other stuff.
Nothing mattered to any of us.
I was trying to do stuff that I had no business doing. But at this point in the game, it's like not, at my age now. I'm not dating just to be dating.
Right.
I'm dating with the intent of marriage. So we couldn't be unequally yoked, as they would say. We would have to be on the same page, at least with our faith. It's hard because you know what I mean. I mean, if I really liked her, I guess I didn't answer the question. If I really liked her, I would see.
Yeah,
I would just trust God.
Yeah,
that she'd come over to my side.
Yeah, you know what?
That might sound selfish.
No, yeah, exactly. I'm gonna trust God to. I'm with you right up to the point, but I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna trust God to either fix her heart because I'm not gonna be there. I can't. Like for me, so this would be to me, and I'm just as an adult. This would probably be a conversation from the jump that needs to be handled from the jump to avoid all of this right here. Right.
In the beginning phases of dating.
Yeah.
Where are we at with our faith, our faith in God?
It's like, what do you believe?
Yeah. I'm a Buddhist. And I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it's not going to work for me.
So you're out here Naja Rumby.
Even if she was fine, she could be like, I'd be like, sorry. Wait. You sure you don't want to change?
Oh my God, man. No. Okay. So that brings me to my next point then. Right. So we're talking. For instance, let's say you got married, y'all in the same race. How do you begin to like raise children, biracial children in the household, man? That's when it kind of, to me, gets a little tricky. And the reason why is because African, and again, I can only speak for African American side, and so from an African American side of how I was raised versus some of my friends, and I hear how they was raised and the things they were able to do
get away with
teenage, right, and the way they could talk to their parents, like. And and they some of them believe, hey, you're gonna give your child the freedom to express their. I'm like,
that goes back to one of the episodes we had when we were talking about the disciplinarian, the authoritarian.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So for raising kids, I wanted to say this: what if your interracial kid adopted one identity over the other?
Ooh.
Like, so what if you're
wow.
So what if you have a son? I mean, let's say you're a white male and you have a black wife, and your son identifies as a black male. How
wait a minute, but okay.
You see what I'm saying? He's interracial.
He's technically Caucasian because they go by the father.
They go by the father, but he identifies with being black.
What's the question again?
How do you navigate that? Let's say, okay, vice versa. We're black males. Well, what if your daughter, if you were married to a white woman, and your daughter identified as a white woman because her mom is white?
Well, I mean that's a conversation. I mean, you're classified as black, first of all.
Touche.
As far as identify, when you say identify, do you mean it in the sense that she just says, "Hey, I'm white," and she's telling her friends that she's white?
Yeah.
But oh, that's tough.
Yeah. What if she's, because for instance, let's talk to the reality of.
So was she dark skinned? I didn't mean to cut you off. Is she dark skinned saying that she's white, or she's light skinned or
I mean,
or
she's
more
light skinned. You know, yeah, she's gonna be
well,
light
I'm white.
complected. Yeah, she's more light complected. But I'm talking to the degree of if she adopts the identity of the fact that she doesn't want to be black because her, you know, what most of her friends are white. Because let's look at it this way: when you raise your kids, you're going to raise them closer to one or the other household. Like, so if you're married to, like, for me and my wife, my family is from East Texas. Mm-hmm. We spend a lot of time in East Texas. Her family is all, some of her family is also in East Texas, but a lot of them are like on the other side of Dallas. We don't really ever see them that much. You see what I'm saying? So at some point, you're going to raise your kids around one house, one part of the racial card, if you will, more than the other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
So how does that?
I see. I see our listeners responding in this chat room.
They are.
And Amber saying the family has to incorporate both sides. And Andrea says they need to learn their culture first. I think that is true for both statements.
Right.
I think, that comes on the parents, even in the beginning.
Yeah.
From their upbringing.
Right.
That they understand and identify with their cultures. Yes, I am. I'm biracial. I'm
right.
part black and I'm part white, and they need to learn their culture. Right. I think from both sides. Okay. You know what I mean. So that way, and I don't know if that's true. It probably is true in households right now. I don't know. Because I've seen black girls. Mm-hmm. Just speaking, this is only my experience that were a product of interracial. Households, and they, I hate to use this term because it's really not, it just seemed like their attitude or they were raised more with or went to school with more Caucasians, and their mannerisms. I don't want to say the way they talk, because I believe, if you got correct grammar in English, but there's a difference.
Are you talking with the upper inflection, like,
yes,
hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah, but a lot of people, they adapt to their surroundings,
right.
And if that's how people talk that they're around, then of course you're going to be a product of that. You're just a learned behavior. That's what it is.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I would think, learning the culture is the first thing that, regardless of how, and you just have to accept them. But I've been around black chicks that, that had that, that inflection, like you were saying, if you want to use it like that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like some of my other sisters that were raised in predominantly black neighborhoods, But then I also noticed that I've had white friends that were raised in predominantly black neighborhoods that talk black, or that had that inflection of a black girl or a black boy. You know what I'm saying? A young black male. So I think it's just their culture, but they have to understand. I think as parents, it would be our duty to teach them the culture from both sides. And if you can't tell them that, what they can identify once they get a certain age,
exactly.
But I think their preference of how they choose their partner or their spouses or whatever will be a reflection of how their upbringing was. And like they said in the chat room, what you're more comfortable with.
Right. Yeah. Jessica just said that, as working with school, she said kids usually identify with the ones they hang out the most with. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that makes more sense because I had friends who were biracial but they hung out with with a lot of black people, so they felt as, okay, I'm black because I do have a half side of me that's black, and so that's what they identify with. So they ate lunch with the black kids. They did all the black sports. If there is a such thing, but and so Jessica, you're absolutely right in regards to that. I feel like that nowadays, my daughter has a friend who's actually, she's black and Asian. Right, she's black and Asian, but she leans heavier to the Asian side because her family here in Austin is Asian. So and the mom is actually Jamaican, and so they're Kingston, Jamaica. So they don't get to see that side of the family much.
So she sees more of the Asian.
So she sees more of the Asian side. So she identifies as Asian, but she definitely could pass as African American because she has that side of her. But I would say intellect. She's Asian. She's great in math. No, I'm just messing. But no, she's very smart, very intelligent individual, and so. But yeah, man, that's crazy to me, man.
Yeah, I was looking at Amber's comment. Thank you guys so much for your feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
She said, and I've seen this show. Example on the show, This Is Us. She says, a character Randall was a black man being raised by a white family. Okay. She said that the white mother made sure to go out of her way to place him around black families. Okay. So, I think that's important too. Yeah. Making sure that you know who you are. Because let's be honest, whether you was raised around a white family, you still a black man. Right. And like we see in our current time, when them popos stop you, it's a different story. You can talk white, and you can act white, but and I'm not saying act. I mean, that's kind of harsh to say that, but I'm just saying you can feel like you identify more with the white culture, but when them sirens go off or you get stopped, you could be possibly treated like a black man, which that's what you look like, right? Or a black woman, that's what you look like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know what? In the 90s, we had a bunch of TV series that began to kind of dive into this type of these type of things, and there was one episode I don't know if you remember, off of Will Smith. Most everybody remember the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? There was an episode that came on where Carlton, that his dad's a judge and all of this, and he grew up kind of and so he grew up kind of ritzy, and he's driving this Mercedes Benz that belonged to his dad's friend to again a resort or wherever they were going. They get pulled over, they get thrown in jail, saying that the car was stolen and it never was, and all that kind of crazy stuff. And it hit Carlton like, hey, it doesn't matter how much money I have. It doesn't matter where I was raised. And it goes back to exactly what you just said. At the end of the day, if you look black, you will be treated as such.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
And that, to me, that's the sad part. And, so we're talking about raising kids. We're talking about raising interracial kids, man, because it's so much different. When it comes to, discipline. That's another real good topic, man, when you're talking raising interracial kids, because again, I grew up with spankings, I grew up with spankings. I didn't grow up with timeout. The only timeout was the time I was out, and then I woke up, found out that I got knocked out.
That was your timeout. That was a timeout. That was a TKO.
Yeah, exactly. That was the only timeout I had, bro. Love your mama.
I know my mama never negotiated nothing
ever till this day, bro. Like, and that's one thing I feel like we're missing. Not to jump off, but I feel like we're missing not the actual, whoopings or spankings or whatever it may call you, just the respect, dude. Yeah. Like, I'm a grown man with my own children. My oldest daughter's 21. My mama and daddy walk in the house. The first thing I'm saying is, yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No,
my mama still threatened me to this day.
Oh, absolutely.
Stella B. North. The lady that writes the blog on the website, she will still slap me in my mouth.
Absolutely. I'm a pastor. I have a congregation. People look up to me and all that good stuff. My mama still, like, she still threatens me like I'm a 10-year-old kid. Yeah. I'm still a little afraid of her, but
Yeah, of course you are. We all are.
I'm just saying, but so with that, hey, listen, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back and we'll finish up the conversation here on the next 15.
Hey, did you know that you can now listen to the Next 15 podcast show with Trey North on Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube? That's right. Catch up on previous episodes on your favorite music platform, and don't forget to subscribe to the all-new website by going to www.next15podcast.com. When you subscribe, you get VIP access to upcoming live events, news about upcoming episodes, and other information before anyone else.
Head over to www.next15podcast.com right now and subscribe today.
Welcome back to the Next 15 with your host, Chris McAllister, and the wonderful co-host for today, Trevor North.
Yo.
How does it feel to be the co-host, man?
I like it.
Do you?
You want to keep doing it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I can't do this, man. I don't see how you do it, man. I give you so much respect in regards to this,
Bro,
dude.
you're doing an awesome job.
If anybody that's out there listening, you might not know that I am nervous out of my mind. I do this every week with this guy, but it is something about turning the mics around and him giving me kind of the leeway. I've been wrecking my brain all week, and
man, you're doing a good job.
you know, but with that, man, this topic has been something that's been lingering, you know what I mean? But again, thank you for this opportunity. So we've been talking again we were just stopped off about raising kids, interracial kids, man. Again, in today's temperature, what does that look like? What does that kind of feel like with raising the kid, raising an interracial or biracial a kid, man? And we were talking about discipline. I feel, again, now to the point of where we are, again, I grew up on whoopings. I'll say that again.
Yeah.
Do I think there are other ways? I truly do. But I don't want to, again, I'm a Christian, so the Bible tells me if you spare the rod, you spoil the child.
Yeah.
So I think that there are moments. Now, that don't mean you got to beat them for everything. I think, because we didn't do that with our children. Me and my wife, we didn't do that with our kids. You know, did they get whoopings? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think my daughters, I can count on one hand how many times I had to whoop my girls. Now my son, pray for him. He's a boy, but he didn't. He didn't have a whole lot either. Nothing like we grew up with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but do you feel like that? Does that change the attitude of a kid when you don't?
When you don't discipline them?
Well, in the manner that we were disciplined.
I feel like kids with less discipline that had the negotiations are the ones that feel more entitled.
Grow up to be Karens?
Yeah. I do, man. I really do, man. I think it's how we were raised. Like my mom, she didn't negotiate. I told you once. Second time, it was strike. You know what I mean? There was
right.
there's no bargaining. Bargaining or bargaining with my mom. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so we were blessed, and they spoiled us when we deserved it, and probably spoiled us times when we didn't deserve it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think, the respect that we have, for my mom, that I have for my mom, is different than parents that I've known that were kind of a little bit less stricter than their other child, because I've seen it, and it burns me up when I see today, even with little kids, their moms sit down or do this and that, and they're just still doing whatever they want. And I'm like, when you gonna pop them in his mouth like I got popped? It's not fair. I got popped in the mouth. I'll pop them. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Have you seen the kids on the leash that you see people in the airports?
Nah, that's just see. You didn't need no leash. My mama throw a shoe at you in a minute, bro.
Boomerang shoe.
I got a curved finger right now. My mama. I'm sorry. My mom always talking about you, ain't it? But you curved my finger. Like, my finger got curved because I got hit with the shoe.
Ladies and gentlemen, he actually has a curved finger. I've never noticed that.
Yeah, I think my mama broke and didn't even know.
I never noticed that, bro.
Curves off this way. Like, I be trying to point that away. They be like, where? This way? No, that away.
You want me to turn left? Like, no, keep straight. What are you doing?
I love you, mama. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. So what are your thoughts out there, guys? We would definitely love to hear your thought process on when it comes to raising biracial kids. Yeah, hey, feel free to give a call in at the show. We still have the lines open at 512-827-9164. And if you don't want to call in, you can definitely put a message there in the chat room, especially on Spreaker.com. And we're getting a lot of.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. So we're getting a lot of comments here on Spreaker.com.
I'm laughing. Jessica Mondesir's in the chat room. That's my sister.
Okay.
And she talking about I have that too. You got a curved finger too? She got you too?
Yeah, boy.
You done got both of us?
Hey, bro.
I'm done.
Dude, your mama sounds exactly like mine, bro.
Yeah, my mom knows your mom.
Exactly, I know.
That's why she loves your mom.
Exactly. We used to call my mama Willie Mays Hayes. For most people who don't understand, Willie Mays Hayes was an African-American baseball player. And he was known for having a perfect batting average. If you threw the ball to him, he was going to hit it. And they called him, he had the perfect aim. And that's what my mom had, was perfect aim. So when she was going to whoop your butt, she never missed you. It was like a propeller, bro. She was just, her arm was like a propeller. But anyway, man, so with raising kids, man, discipline is a thing, dude. Education, man, is another thing. You know, how education works in regards to what black kids expect, what white kids or Asian kids or whatever may have you to expect in regards to that, man. And so there's so much that goes into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to have another show where we have some interracial couples on there.
Absolutely.
If you're listening and, if you live in the Austin area, we can get you in the studio, or you can just give us a phone call.
Yeah.
We can still do this via phone call from right where you
absolutely.
are. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would love to hear. I would love to hear the indifferences.
Yeah.
And how what's currently going on today, how is it affecting the household now?
Yeah. Because I think it really is, man. And again, you if you look at social media, I love it and I hate it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you get to kind of to peer into other people's lives a little bit to see the kind of stuff that they go through versus, because my house, it just helped us band together with everything that's going on. We got more tight knit as a family, and my household became, a rallying function for, Black Lives Matter, which we always knew, we always felt, but now it feels like we as a family have a louder voice. But on the opposite end, you have, again, interracial couples who their families might be getting torn apart because of this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I would love to hear that opposite side, man.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So hold on one. Oh, yeah. You know what? I wanted to make sure that I did not miss this before we begin to wrap it up here. We were talking about raising kids. The last thing I wanted to bring up with raising children is, at the end of the day, dude, do you feel that after your kid gets of a certain age, if they decide to just get rid of pretty much one side of their understanding of their race, like you get a daughter and she just says, I'm done with being black?
Man, I know a lot of black people that's saying that right now. What's going on?
There's a couple of people.
Yeah, I'm serious. I bet there's
absolutely.
some people saying it. And I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I mean, man. I'm stuck on that one, Chris, because I would like to think that I've done as a parent, I would have done my job to not even have my kids even think that way. Yeah. I would think there would have to be some kind of traumatic situation or something that happened to make them feel that way.
Gotcha.
Or they're being either influenced from the outside or somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as long as I'm doing my job as a parent, and we kind of do like Amber and Jessica and Jacqueline and all them that was saying in the chat room, getting them to know their culture. I think they would, if we did our job to help them embrace that, then it'd be hard for them themselves to even be talked out of that. You know what I mean? And to be honest, there might be some privileges on both sides as they can play.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm just saying. I'm being very honest.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
I wish I had it.
You're a little crispy for that,
yeah, I
brother.
know, bro. I'm on one side of the tracks.
You're
bro.
out of there. You stayed in the oven too long.
Exactly. Boy, you were something
playing.
else. You are something else. It was look like I come from Boswater. I'm just playing, guys. Well, hey, listen, I hope everybody like everything that's been talked about. My final thoughts, though, in regards to interracial marriage and interracial dating, the question is, does it matter? And I'm going to say, after these conversations is, yeah, it does matter. It's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It can't be. When you're having two different individuals from two different walks of life come together, it can't be the same. And so, my thoughts for anybody who's listening, who's dealing with this, my prayers go out to you and any issues that you are having in regards to everything that's going on with the protest and family and raising children. You have a lot on your hands, and my prayers go out to each and every one of you. Trey, you have any last thoughts, man?
I mean, I feel exactly how you do, man. I think it's just our job as human beings to love one another, no matter what color we are. And obviously, if you're in an interracial relationship, you've already done that part. And I think it's the continuation of it, even what we're going through today with the times, with this, all of this, the murder of another black man and the marching, the protest, the looting. I think it's very important that we just stick to the, as far as the relationship go, why we're together in the first place, or why you're together in the first place. You know what I mean? And I think this is a great opportunity to even enrich each other in each other's cultures even more if that hasn't been already done.
Right.
So that you can understand, and like many of our people in the chat room were saying, the communication process. The communication is the key. You know what I mean? Just because what's being felt, the tension, and we understand that the tension that's out there could be inside the home, but just remember that why you fell in love or why you chose to be with that person, regardless of what's going on today, that nothing has changed. What really matters hasn't changed. You know what I'm saying? So, I just think it's important to just infuse love. You know what I mean? And keep that going. Yeah.
Well, man, that is awesome. Listen, I want to thank all the listeners that's been listening to my show on today, as the words of Trevor North. Thanks for listening to my show. You can go to the next15podcast.com to listen to this particular podcast and others. Don't forget, you definitely can subscribe to the newsletter, and when you do, you can get bonus content and more.
Absolutely.
And so with that being said, I'm your man Chris. This has been the Next 15 podcast show for tonight. You guys have a blessed night.
This has been a live Next 15 podcast production. For more information on how to advertise your business products or services on our show, or if you're interested in voiceover work, please email us at next15podcast@gmail.com.